Hello everybody, I'm Spike, also known as Crunk7up, and welcome back to my stream. It's a little bit different from the Japanese lessons we were doing. My camera's been moved. There's been a bit of a cessation of things leading into this weekend. Um, one, I've had things to do, and two, my daughter's here, and she's ruined a couple of things for me. Most notably the camera. Um, but I'm not going to blame her. Even though she was climbing all over my PC, it was to get a box of snappy sharks, basically hungry hippos, but with sharks instead. And she likes the little tiny ball-bearing balls. So I've been busy with her. She's currently ill as well, so hopefully I won't end up getting her illness. Um, but yes, apologies for the slightly spotty um, uh, play or lack of streaming, apart from the self-taught Japanese content when it comes to the gaming. And while she's having a nap for the next couple of hours, I'm going to try and spend the time seeing if the hotfixes that CIG have implemented into 4.0 preview build of Star Citizen work. So what my intention is today is to jump into the game. These two randomers also is starting in my that's never a good sign. Starting in the Habs. We're back in area 18, or starting in area 18, which is where we were last time. So I'm gonna, nip to the med bay. Still a little bit janky on the startup, but area 18 is incredibly intensive for the traders and such. So yes, my intention today is to check to see if in 4.0 to see if the hotfixes for the issues that were occurring work, and see if I notice any differences in my particular gameplay and account issues and assets and stuff, as mentioned in previous Star Citizen streams, and to also test to see if those hotfixes will allow me to pick up contracts and have them populate the assets in the warehouse inventory manager list, which is what had started to break with the persistence of the databasing for 4.0 after some changes on the back end and features that changed, etc. That, like I said before, everyone was starting to propagate these bugs by account jumping from server to server and then from server shards, so on and so forth. And I think it was mainly item duplication seems to be what causes a lot of the memory leaks in this game, because obviously the assets aren't meant to exist to begin with, because there's no ledger to say that the account has purchased them with either in-store credit with real-life money or by in-game currency. And then it's got to persistently, each server an account has to persistently load that asset for its existence, which obviously they're checking the ledgers and the databases to find that it's not meant to exist, but they'll populate it anyway because then they think it's an error, and as a result you end up in this game breaking loop with each account, with each duplicated asset across all instances persistently, from server to server, from shard to shard, from person to person, which is why we see from various updates and hotfixes, I believe, again, this is all my opinion, but from what I've noticed, it seems to then persistently degrade the gameplay as the server gets more and more broken, tries to sync itself with everyone and get everyone to sync with itself more and more, harder and harder, which is this gradual decline in performance, and then this population of more and more issues that then break more and more things that then spread further and further throughout the game. So it will start off in one place, and only small concurrent loops only affect individuals, that then start to affect stations, that then start to affect planets, and moons that then start to affect complete areas, that then start to affect the system, that then starts to affect the server, that then starts to affect all players if they haven't got problems already, trickle down economy as a sort of effect, and then that ends up obviously affecting the shard, and then we start to see more game breaks, more server blocks, more issues. So, right, the first thing we're going to do is to not take a chance. I'm damaged apparently, and I need to hydrate, and I don't know if I can drink yet. So we're going to go floor 2, room 4, Empire, which is our medical bay, our hospital, medical services, and we want floor 2, room 4. So we're going to 204. Rooms 2, 20103, 204. There we go. This should be us. Yep, that lets me in. Get on the bed. Lie down. Oh, excuse me. I still haven't quite shifted the top of this infection myself with this cough, but it's getting there. I haven't been rescued. Yeah, we know that. Medical care. No injuries detected. Treatments. We don't need any. Okay, we don't need any of those. So just lying down and looking at the screen has treated us, apparently. That's good news. So we are fully healed, no? Yes, we are. Brown, fantastic. Right, let's get the hell out of. Let's get out of here. Get the fudge out of Rog. That's that done. Just get my speed back up. That was a swift lift. Alright, let's get out of here. Just gonna have a quick light snack while we wait for this tram or taxi.
City Flight asks that you be courteous to your fellow passengers. Keep conversations and mobiglass to a reasonable volume, and share space with other travelers. Remember, we're all taking this journey together.
Here we go. The tram has arrived.
Waiting passengers should be mindful of the platform's edge. Strong winds can arise suddenly.
Lovely stuff.
I hear the smurry
So
cup
yes,
seems
once
to
again,
shake
my
out.
apologies for not streaming on Thursday, and for not doing a gaming stream yesterday. Thursday I took as a day off. just to recharge my mental health and my batteries. And I had things to do, a meeting in the local town, and visiting a couple of people I've not seen for a little while before Christmas, which kind of took a little bit of more of a priority. And then Friday, obviously, I went over on the self-taught Japanese stuff in Rosetta Stone, with the intention to game later on. But this is the weekends that I have access to my daughter, so I never got round to actually doing it because the review video and stream for the Japanese self-taught stuff in Rosetta Stone took priority, and then took longer than I expected it to, before I ended up needing to go and pick up my daughter. And then obviously she ended up catching an illness at school, so she's got a little bit of fluey, snotty, coldy cough sort of thing. It's more cough, chesty cough for her, like it is for me. She's in good spirits, but she is ill, so she's a bit under the weather. So my time's more been taken up with her, and she's a daddy's girl, it's been a lot of snuggles, it's been a lot of running around and chasing after her, and just, you know, keeping up with her as you do for a nearly 7-year-old. A 7-year-old who's got autism. So, you know, it's been a lot of fun so far this weekend, but she's currently having a nap, which is why you'll find me now doing this stream and having a test to see if the hotfixes that I missed when they dropped have fixed the issues that I was encountering in my last Star Citizen streams, with the couple of game loops that I had issues with, and also the lack of population of the cargo itself when accepting cargo missions. Now, granted, that might just be in this small area of Area 18 to Bajini, but that's what I want to check, because at the moment it's the shortest route, quickest earner for cargo missions, as far as I've been made aware. Thank you, Sir Faldo, for the tip back at the start of the 4.0 drop. So yes, what I'm going to do is test those facets over the next couple of hours and then jump off, because I don't want my daughter to have too long of a nap, because if I end up waking her up and in time for dinner and stuff, and she slept too much, she is not going to get to sleep until stupid o'clock tonight, and I need to sleep as well. And also, I'd like to get back on in game when she's asleep later on this evening, because then it means I might be able to do a quiet stream. We'll see. But anyways, that's what this is going to be about. To just check and see if things are fixed. So far, so good. I haven't got my ship parked in a funny location. I will say though that this was parked 90 degrees to the warehouse freight elevator for the cargo missions, and I've walked in, and the reset of jumping back on a server, yes, it is out in my hangar. It was the last ship that was out, as apparently it should be, but it's now orientated the right way. I didn't have it parked up to and facing the entrance to the hangar elevator that you would expect from the lifts and from the fleet manager screens. So I know that that's slightly different in some regard. So let's switch these on. Right, cool. So now that they're on and warmed, okay, so we've now got the map resets too, so we're not having, because it used to just zoom straight in, but we know that, or I know that some of this area, particularly Bajini Point itself, and I think it's to do with how close its orbit is to Area 18 as a planet, or Arc Core as a planet. But there are others who have issues with being able to quantum jump to Bajini, where it will give you the route, but it will jump you within the 20k, and then it will shoot you straight past, and you just keep on going. It's like it doesn't quite have the lock on it. But also, usually the map starts with you wherever you are, which should be me sat in my cutter, and then I have to zoom out, right? So this is a slightly different change. Anyways, on to what I'm testing. Let's go to the offers of hauling, or haulage. And we're looking for the extra smalls that are 50k, not 62. So let's go to, here we go, there's one. That's an 11. That's a 6. We'll do the small singles first. That's not a good sign. And yet the previous previous game we jumped out of. I'm doing this, yeah, I thought so. You're not going to let me accept them, are you? Or if you do let me accept them, I bet they won't actually populate into my list. No, we don't want that one. It was that one, wasn't it? Accept. Yeah, already it doesn't look good. Already it doesn't look good. Which suggests it's also server side, because the previous server was letting me accept these. It was letting me accept them. And actually putting them in my list. Now we don't. Now we're not even putting them in my list. At least it's not on. There you go. Server error. What a surprise. See, there are certain things in this game that if you're used to seeing bugs or having worked in a game engine before, when you're playing or testing or trying to replicate errors, there are certain things with regards to loading or saving that you can determine roughly whereabouts in a process that an exe will break in, if that makes sense. Because there are some code that will process no matter what. It's the end result that breaks. Does it achieve its end target? So you can have code that will work that doesn't actually produce its end target. And you can also have code that will save, but the save is wrong. Because the code it was running through did its job, but its capture was in the wrong place, for example. And not because the code was necessarily wrong, it's just it was in the chain that code then occurred in was in the wrong spot, for example. So instead of being in like position 2 or 3, it might be in position 7. Which this is where you start to see weird effects and such that aren't working properly. So as a result, do we have accepted? No, we don't have accepted contracts still. So let's keep trying. We'll see if it will let us try a second time on the 50Ks, because the 50Ks are all we're after. Accept. There we go. Now it's accepting. So whatever that was, my account and the server have caught up with each other to accept and populate so far. There we go. It's taking a little bit of time. But yes, it's starting to accept and populate what I'm supposed to be doing. Now, at the minute, it's only this GUI front end code that's working. I.e., I click on this, it turns it into accepted, populates it into my list, and chucks out the notification messages in the HUD on the top left hand side, so that I've got them there in my list to show that I'm 1, doing them and carrying them out, and 2, they've been assigned to me, and 3, so that I've got them in this list to be able to cycle through so I can track them and be able to hopefully have them populate the items in my warehouse hangar. So as far as we're aware at the moment, this first lot, this first front end section is working fine. That's good. It's whether the second half of the code that tells it to populate the items so that I can collect them, or that also give you the collect and deliver waypoints in the game, whether they will populate so that I can actually go to, pick up and come back with what I'm supposed to then do the third part of the code, which is the finalization, sticking the items on the elevator to then complete, and then it completing that loop so that I get the monies, right? So yeah, there's a couple of things here, or a couple of sections of the same piece of code of the things that I've experienced I was doing that are broken, that I'm looking at hoping aren't going to be broken this time around. So far, again, we saw that the server was taking a while to catch up with itself. That could just be down to ping, could be connection, could be my ISP on my end, it could be on their end, it could be the account, it could be the server itself. It's just chucked out that error to show me that it's taken some time and what I asked it to do didn't match up with what the server wanted me to do, or the server couldn't compute and consolidate what I'd asked it to for it to persistently load it, to make it a given, if you like. So let's have a look at these contracts. We've accepted 6, right? And there they are. So we've got 10, we've got a 10, 2 10s, a 9, an 8, 6, and an 11. So for this test, let's start with the 6, shall we? We'll do the small one first. We'll track that. We're going to get 50 and a quarter K. Now we should be, yeah, we're mobile, good. 1 down, I'll do that. Oh, N. Well, Alt N apparently just made my ship completely and utterly disappear. Now, the question is that because I pressed Alt N? Or is it because my ship asset, even though I was in it, should not, or was not actually in the hangar? It was a ghost from the previous session, which is why, as I mentioned, I had it parked over in this corner by my freight elevator, which, according to Cefaldo, persistent hangars, your ship should be parked wherever you left it the last time you left and then jumped back. Whereas that may be the case of how it's supposed to work. My issue is that when you pull yourself off of the server, the game needs to put you back on when you load back in, and then reload the exact location of where your ship last was in your hangar, right? If you hadn't left the game, I would argue that that should be true. But if you left and closed the game, that instance of persistence needs to occur without your account being there, which surely the server is trying to pick up and maintain your account whilst you're in and loaded, right? That's going to be quite hard if you're not in and loaded. Otherwise, that means that your account needs to be permanently loaded persistently on the server without you being on and playing the game, right? So I would argue that be it pulling yourself off a server or off a server shard and then you left the game should induce a account reset where whatever you did have in your hangar should be put away for you to call back out again. The only thing that should be persistent, as it were, and be able to be accessible is when you've loaded into the game from a fresh load of the game from the launcher, from your desktop, that when you join into the game and then join a server or a shard, your hangar should be the only thing that's available. And then when you go into the hangar, it should be empty, and you call out whatever you want thereafter. Now, the idea for the game's devs might be for you to have whatever you had in your hangar and how you left it still be there when you go into your hangar, right? But as I mentioned, that requires your profile to be permanently loaded across all instances. That's a lot for a server to keep hold of. information-wise, and keep persistent amongst every other player that is dipping in and out of the servers and the server shards. That's too much information. It's no wonder why this game has so many concurrent bugs that are memory leaks, because it's trying to keep writing persistently to files that are constantly in use. That's so difficult to do. That is so difficult to do. Is keep writing to open files that are just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. At some point, something's going to give. Something's going to corrupt. Something's not going to get written correctly, and that's where you're going to end up finding that file then doesn't work as intended. If you've got hundreds of thousands of files, assets or otherwise, and that's happening all over the shop, you're going to encounter some serious issues. We can't work that way. So some concessions and compromises at some point need to be made in the code, both for the game engine and any supplementary files and plugins and so on and so forth, techniques, so on and so forth. So I think it's wholly understandable that just your hanger as an instance should be persistent when it loads here, when you jump into the game, but nothing beyond this door until you enter should be loaded until you either call out your ship or you go and do something, or maybe like your decorations and stuff. I wouldn't know because I don't have decorations, right? So I'm not too bothered. But to have a ship asset itself constantly out, where if you hadn't put it away from the last session, jumped off, shut your computer down, joined on the next day, and then the next time you've loaded up and come in, it's still in your hangar, parked in here. Do you know how many assets each ship has to load? Like, the cutter alone is like 6 different modules. You've got 2 for each part. You've got cockpit module, and inside and outside. You've got the middle section, and inside and outside. You've got the rear, inside and outside. Those 2 modules occur 3 times, twice for each. So you've got 6 different folders of assets for one ship that's being loaded whenever it's in use. They need constantly updating with either energy levels, fuel levels, damage levels, the textures, the graphics, what position the engines are in, what kind of percentage frost glow they're in, all of that sort of stuff. And it's dynamic, it changes, and it changes persistently. Like, you think of any other ordinary file system in a compression file. How many of you have tried to write to something that's open and Windows says that it can't do it because it's in use, right? Now imagine trying to do that when you're in a compressed file and you're trying to encrypt and compress the file at the same time as also writing to the open file that's within the folder you're trying to zip, compress and encrypt. That's what this game is doing in its P4K file for literally every asset, not just locally, but then also for each instance of that locality on the server persistently. Can you see now and understand now why there are issues with trying to get this code to work smoothly and without generating issues because of various memory leaks and corruptions, because certain things aren't lining up, because either a player's account locally cannot keep up, whether it's their system, whether it's their internet connection, whatever, versus the server that's got to do this for however many people are on the server, between 300 to 600 I think is the current cap limit, and then it's got to do that between each instance of server for each shard. Well, you can see how exponentially problems will grow and cause huge problems, which, granted, with where we're at the minute in the alpha, the glitches and the bugs are funny, a little annoying and frustrating for sure, but considering how stable they've managed to get that technology going, like pre-server meshing, through server meshing, and where we're at now with the server meshing, like, granted, fantastic, they've made leaps and bounds, but I would argue that it's still a flawed system just because of how that particular dynamic of computing as it works. and how those techniques individually work, that they're then trying to stack on top of each other to make this processing work. It's a tall order, it's a huge challenge. Props from giving it the go and getting this far and this advanced with it. However, the basic formatting and principles of each one of those layers makes it an incredibly difficult challenge to make it coexist, gel, work within itself, and then for itself, for everybody involved, without having massive issues. Or, in our case as end users, or as testers, and part of the community, game-breaking bugs and glitches. Things that immediately kill you, things that you wouldn't necessarily expect to happen. Unintended aspects of play, encountering stuff that does break your game, you know, all sorts of stuff. It's all sorts of things. Huh? Right, so we haven't got a disappearing... Yeah. So we haven't got a disappearing cutter. That's good. Yeah. Okay, so we're getting back into play here. Just re-gelling with our keys and buttons and what have you. Because it's been a little while. Because again, there's no point in me picking up this game to play and do the game loops that I want to do, i.e. earn the cash from these quick cargo missions, to get my vulture back, to be able to play and do some of the game missions and techniques that I want to be able to do and to show on stream, to also test, you know, see if there are any other bits and pieces of that are broken for me and stuff. There's no point in me doing it if I can't play the game normally with regards to some of the issues I was encountering prior to coming back. So, you know, I'm just being sensible. I'm not wanting to frustrate myself and get into position where there's no point in me doing something because it just ends up winding me up. It's not enjoyable. It's not fun. It means I can't concentrate and either have fun in what I'm doing, or be I can't be entertaining in that regard. Although I suppose some people would want to see me blow a fuse and get frustrated and stuff, but I don't find that enjoyable. And my management technique is to just, okay, I'm gonna quit and leave it, because it's not fun to end up feeling that way about something when it's inanimate and it's supposed to be the thing that you're getting some respite from, or you're using to alleviate stress and just to decompress and stuff, you know. So, for those who've seen the stream before, this should be a very familiar looking game loop right now, where we are coming into beenn, and we're going to test and see if this game loop with these bits and pieces are going to work. So we're at beenn. So all we need to test to see is... Oh, I don't like that. That was not a nice lag skip there. The last lag skips we had like that just put us into buildings that didn't exist, and to also completely and utterly destroy us. Oh, we've still got that on. Okay, so we've got a little bit of stickiness with our keys. They're not quite as immediate as they were before the game breaking bugs. We've got a little bit of latency in our input-output response from account to server side. Again, that could be down to my ISP and connection, quite possibly. So I'm going to put it there. It's only in hitting the command and then the command's going through the code process that's then processing to what have you. It seems to be happening across the board with most things, whether it's an elevator, whether it's a screen, whether it's the main hangar door, whether it's the hangar elevator, whether it's the commands to get in and out of the chair. I'm having to press and hold. So we know that there's a little bit of latency and slowdown there. Yeah. Locally on the ship, not so bad. I mean, some functions, yeah, obviously forward strafe mouse is pretty good. Right, here's the moment of truth. Do we have boxes on the right hand side? We do. Oh, but it looks like we only have one set. And I'm pretty sure I accepted, what, 4 or 5 contracts? Which before, it would have all of the contracts for all of these that were in, what's it? So, okay, so that's the carbon of 10, right? But we are currently looking for the skew of 6. So it only seems to have populated our first contract we accepted, right? We haven't got this one, 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 we ain't got this one. They are not in there. Which suggests there's still an issue with population, or the game is expecting us to only do one thing at a time. This should be filled with boxes. Missions, 10. We've only got the carbon in here. Well, we'll do the carbon anyway. Oh, I didn't bring the lift up. What an idiot. We'll do the carbon anyway. Move to the elevator and bring it up. Cool. We get out our oh, excuse me. We'll get out our multi-tool, which just randomly dropped on the floor. What? Cool. Okay, so we have some slight menu issues as well. Yeah, we've also got some detachment grid issues. So, filing up this ship should be fun. See how it's double stretching there? It's clicking onto the bottom, and then it's actually highlighting and attaching to the middle. Right, let's try it again from here. See that? That wasn't happening pre-patch. It's going click, click. So you see how there's a... I don't know if you'll be able to see and zoom in. Right, see how there's this green marker here? It says attached to cargo grid. That's where the tractor beam is applying first, and then it's moving to the center of the object. That was not happening before the hotfixes. It was just immediately attaching itself to the center of the item to begin with. I wonder if that's because they're trying to do an advancement of the... See? There we go. Whether there's a reason for that, whether it's going to be an advancement to the mechanics of the tractor beam, I don't know. And the gridding, the grid snapping, I'm not sure I like that. It doesn't look as smooth as it did. It doesn't feel... I know it's static double whammy for the item, but even if I aim it at the top, you see that? Yeah. Okay, so I suppose from a distance you could argue that, okay, I'm able to aim at the product, the box, the SKU, and it will just automatically grab it from me, and it looks like it's trying to detach the box from the grid for you when it centers its attachment from the grid of the floor to the grid of the box, or rather from the grid of the floor to the asset, and then it pulls it off the grid, which I suppose is helpful in some respects. It means that you can't really make a mistake, I suppose. The issue is, it doesn't look smooth, and although there is no feel to it, it doesn't quote unquote feel smooth. I think I preferred how it operated before. But again, who am I to judge? I'm just loading this up. So this will be the first set of SKU boxes for these contracts. However, the issue I now have that you guys have seen in the stream is I've selected or supposed to have populated 5 different contracts, and I only have boxes for 1. Right? And they're all at Virginie. I know they're all at Virginie and Area 18 because that's where I'm at, right? So the question becomes, where are they? That's the problem. Where are they? And does that mean that you can only at the moment take on 1 mission at a time because it'll only populate 1 set of boxes per cargo run mission, right? So 1 set of hotfixes kind of works because we've got a population of 1 contract back, but it's not allowing us to populate the items for all contracts that we've selected and actually taken on, which does represent an issue at the moment, because obviously that means that if I go back and I get rid of this, does that mean that I may not have... we'll have to see. We'll have to see if completing this one allows the contract that I next accepted, whether that one then populates at this hangar. So that'll be the test. If it doesn't, that's where I'm going to call it and say that no, we still have issues. In this version of SC anyway. Which could well be the case. Yep. Oh, put that on there. Oh, we get to that. Oh. Just gonna go quickly to the kitchen. I return. I can see that I'm... Oh, well, I wasn't off course. I am now. I knocked the mouse. Whoops. Yeah, let's crack on with this bad boy. I should have been going way faster, but I'm kind of glad that I wasn't, because it means I couldn't turn around and get caught out. So going to unmask myself on a headphone, because I think my little baby, Luna, is waking up a little, and we'll soon see. So this quick test is going to be just that, but at least we've got a gaming return to Star Citizen, hey? With a couple of fixes and hotfixes that have returned the account to a bit more of a normal operation, we can populate 1 cargo mission, but it's not populating others that it should on accepting the mission. So we have this slight disparity at the moment that yes, you can do a cargo mission, but it might be one at a time. Accept one mission, do that mission, complete it, and then do the next one. It seems like we can't stack multiples now and have all the items populate for us to, be able to do our thing. So we shall see. Right, so let's get ourselves down onto Riker. Let's get ourselves down onto Area 18 and Arc Core and go to Riker, preferably without smashing into. Oh, what's it? Oh, we've also lost the graphic for burning up in atmosphere. I would have thought that'd still be going at this speed, but clearly not. I don't remember seeing too much of it neither. I know we saw a glimpse of it to start with, but that's clearly disappeared, which is a shame because it was a nice effect. So I wonder if maybe that effect was causing some issues. Potentially. Well, I guess we'll never know. Also, one thing I've noticed, the field of view keeps changing backwards and forwards. I should be able to see this. And I kind of can't. I'm a little bit miffed. A little bit miffed about that. But hey ho, we'll see. We'll see what's going on. Still got the boxes in the back. Still, this game is, even when it doesn't work, it's still beautiful. It's still an incredibly good looking game. Let's pull down this thrust. Going at 240 at the minute. Still, there we go, about 180. It's hard to tell because the water effects are still affecting the holograph display in the ship. Should be close enough to populate ourselves a hangar on request. There she be. Lovely jubbly. So this is about the height that I was at last time, and in the space that I was at last time before I got spawned into the floor. So I'm a little bit miffed as to how we ended up in such a position. Through the shielding. Oh. Didn't like that. Where are we? There we go. Right, so let's oh, no, a bit too far over. We want to be a little bit more square on. There we go. Probably about there. 8 being on the outside view, it doesn't feel normal. It's good for reference, but it's not that great for actual flight. Alright, that's the same one. So, let's deliver this carbon that it's allowed us to have and populate, or that it's populated for us to be able to actually complete the mission. So let's see. We can see the materials and our actual inventory in our warehouse, right? There's no SKU in here either for items. So we know it's not populating accidentally into our local inventory at the other end, which I suppose is a good thing. See, on the ship, the and that being on a grid, the clip for it, see, straight to the middle. That is just way smoother, and it acts how it's supposed to. It looks how it's supposed to. It's being how it's supposed to be. Whereas hitting the grid, it's like doing that double boop boop. I don't think it's supposed to do that. I think that's an error. And whatever the hotfixes have done, that's a little glitch there, a little error. I don't think it's supposed to be doubling like it's doing there, because it certainly wasn't before. And again, that's my OCD there. I'm pretty sure that's the kind of thing that I notice, you know. Because again, it's operating in two different manners now. You got how the tractor beam is operating with stuff that isn't on a grid, that is like the majority of the game, right? And you've got stuff when it's on a grid, the difference, boom, boom, which is interesting. Yeah, okay, so it's doing it on when it's a box on a box as well. I suppose that means you can't necessarily get it wrong as to what you're attaching to, you know, which, okay, fine, fair enough. But I don't like that. It just doesn't look good, and it feels like it slows you down, even though it's the one action, right? Because you want to think, oh, okay, I also don't think I can move it immediately either until it snaps to the middle of the asset. That's just a touch annoying. That is going to slow people down a little bit, because you're waiting for it to get to where it's meant to attach to. Again, I suppose not too much of an issue. It just doesn't look smart. It looks rough, you know? And we want a smoother experience. I would have thought that would be the point. But, first contract, done, complete. That game loop seems to work. Okay, so we've completed. That means we should at least have the monies for it. So let's have a look. We were at 766 yet. We're now at 816. It's good news. So, we know... Oh no, we don't want that. Close. Don't want that. Don't want that. Want this. So, we are going to turn the torch off for a start, and then we are going to look at our contracts. See, so it's gone to the history like it's supposed to. That's what we've done today. Now, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 10 SKU, 9 SKU, 8 SKU, 6 SKU, and an 11 SKU. Now I wanted to track and do this 6 SKU, right? So let's track that. The issue being that, as I've shown already, yeah, I know shares unavailable for party members because I know I'm not even in a party, so you can get rid of that. If we now got yeah, okay. So we've now got some furniture on the screen that we don't want or need. That's good to know. See what I mean? Small little things that, because something else is bugged probably in the same layer, above or below it, then the code for it is now not letting it disappear and end like it should do. That's now going to stay there until we bugger off, basically, and go elsewhere. That's annoying. So let's track this. Yeah, we know share is unavailable if there are no eligible party members. Let me get rid of that. Ugh. So we got a message that's not disappearing like it's supposed to. Again, it's not the worst thing, it's just annoying if it happens to end up being a message that's big enough and invasive enough that it ends up covering up furniture and information that you require. And for someone like me with OCD, I like shit to be tidy. So something like this, it can be off-putting, right? Because it means that I've got something that I don't need in my field of view that's also covering something else that I might need in my field of view. And it's just unnecessary. Yep, see? It's still there. So it's clearly in a layer of the HUD over the top that's just not completing properly to say, oh, I'm not in that screen anymore, to hover over as completely finished. So I should, empty myself and remove myself and not be visible anymore, but it doesn't do it. So again, it's only on occasion, and it seems to be today that today is this occasion. But let's now see. Let's now see if when we get to Bajini, we've got a collect shipment, right? But as you saw during this stream, and people will be able to go back when it's paused. You're going to be able to see right, that I have accepted missions, and they did not populate the items for the boxes for said mission at Bajini to pick up. So how the hell am I supposed to complete those missions if I can't pick up the boxes because they aren't in the warehouse to pick up, right? So fast and oversprung. Need the landing legs down. Landing gear down. Yeah, that'll do. Close enough. Do we do a Y, get out of the seat? So this would be the real test. I have tracked the 6 SKU mission. Now, do we think that the SKU boxes for the contracts after completing that first mission of 10, do we think that it will have gone to the next one I accepted? Do we think that we'll have the SKU in the warehouse in my inventory for the quartz that I am now tracking? Or do we think there'll be nothing there at all because contracts are still broken? And there's our answer. Contracts are still broken because it only populates one contract at a time. Or at least it's only populated the one contract that I could do. I mean, I'm still happy for it. I've still got the cash for it. But it does mean that to do a contract, you've got to jump in, do the one contract at the minute, and then come out, leave the server, jump back in, load up, do the one contract, jump back out, etc., etc. So the hotfixes might have now made the game playable, where there's no slowdown, there's no lag, the databasing and the save state and the persistence is keeping up with itself, but it's still broken some functionality with regards to missions. Seemingly, this is my experience. I'm just showcasing my experience and giving my two pence piece, or two penneth, or 2 cents, as it were, on that experience and what I'm seeing and how I'm seeing it propagate with the rest of the gameplay. Right, furniture here. It's not getting rid of itself. That's from. Oh my god! It's that is from the mobiGlas overview, and specifically from this screen, this bit here. So I can move it, but I can't get rid of it. and that's a shame. So what I'm going to do, it was only an hour, it's a fresh hour, but my sister's turned up, because it's my daughter's birthday soon, but not when I have her, so we're doing her birthday this weekend, and she's turned up to see her and to have dinner, so this is my brief stream test to see if the hotfixes that have been implemented work, and what hotfixes they have done. As far as I can see, the game is more playable. There's not so much lag. There's not so much in the way of latency. With regards to loading times for things like the hangar instances to open the doors. Um, that there are certain things that don't seem as broken, like having to smash the buttons on the elevators to be able to call them often enough. Any instances with regards to your ship, because the ships seems to be bugging out. We also had the skew boxes themselves, tractoring them onto the ship, could move the ship as if the ship was lighter than the boxes. So I assume that that particular weight distribution, um, as for the assets has now sorted itself out. I would assume that because the assets of the ship are, you can go into them, you can run around inside them, they're quite interactive, versus a skew box that's literally supposed to just be a box that is solid. You can't do anything with it besides pick it up with a tractor beam, and it has a predetermined weight. Um, so I would assume that a skew box you can't destroy, so it's going to be an invincible item. Um, I assumed that its predetermined static weight, what's being indestructible, is what gave it the ability to be able to move and interact with a ship that made the ships seem like they were light as a feather or like a plastic bag in the wind, just which is why we were seeing boxes have have weird effects on ships, like moving them around and stuff, which again you can also see in my previous streams, both with myself and with Sir Faldo. Um, so there are some things that seem to have been addressed, or the hotfixes seem to have addressed certain things in the running of the server side and the accounts. So we've got some consolidation and databasing back. However, unintended side effects from the things that did break is that the contracts for cargo specifically, you can accept the first one and it will populate for you to pick up and to complete. But if you've accepted multiple, as is in my case, you won't get any more past that. Now, whether that's true if I'd just done them individually instead of stacking them and going, yeah, I'm going to have these 4 or 5, that might be for later on to test. But as it is, contracts that I do have, the contracts that I do have left to do, I accepted 5, and none of them are in my inventory. It's not going to matter which ones I track because none of them have populated. I only populated the one that I've completed. So there's still an issue with regards to inventory items not populating correctly when it's a contract-based population, and I assume that that's because they're working hard to remove duping items from the game and from the mechanics, um, which is fair enough because people have been duping items that are rare, that you have to work towards, that you have to purchase with real cash, that get locked to your account so you can't lose them. They're part of LTI insurance so you can get them back, or during a wipe, instead of losing the stuff that you've got within game currency, the stuff that you've specifically bought with real currency in the real world that's attached to your account and hangar, you get that stays each wipe. I assume that because people have been duping those items to give to other players, that then because of the nature of the item gets attached to the account when they've been sent it, sold it, whatever. That's what they're trying to remove from the game, because obviously people are getting expensive items for nothing permanently. Um, and I also assume that some of those duping techniques are what are breaking the game, because you are producing and cloning an item that has the same ident for a previous asset that's then got to be kept persistently on the server and in the databasing and so on and so forth. And it's not meant to be there. you're not just eating up with an item that's a clone of another, so you've got two instances of something that shouldn't have two instances of, but you're trying to do that persistently, and it's no leaks because you're then eating up another space in the memory for an asset that shouldn't exist, which in itself will cause issues. But as it is, these are not populated in the freight elevator, making them contracts absolutely bloody useless. I'm glad that I've managed to do one today to test. I will try and jump on later to try and test my theory of let's do one contract mission, we'll do that one, end it, complete it, and then we'll accept another one and see if that then populates the list. If that's the case, then that says to me that they've taken out part of what would be duplication code that they are using themselves to be able to make contracts like this work, where it populates the item and asset into your list, into your inventory at whatever location for you to pick up to be able to complete, right? And it just seems that that's exploitable code elsewhere in the game, which is why the practice of duplication has become a thing. Now, granted, I will say, we've seen on stream the Cruise Lux hydration dupe, where you have two water bottles at 100%, you drink one, then you drink the other, and you keep the two empty bottles on you in your inventory stacked, and then when you want to drink, you drag both of them to your hand, the game selects one, and then when you come out your inventory, you can drink from the empty bottle that suddenly has 100% fluid in it. So you've got an infinite supply, of hydration, basically. Now, for someone who's used this before a fair few times, test and stuff, I do think that is one of those minutiae things that has been slowly breaking people's inventories, bugging out character accounts, etc., that's populating issues into the game, both at local side and server side, that's then disseminating to the shard that's causing these crashes. Because again, it might be a small asset and it might be a local inventory item that never gets placed as an actual item on the floor until you want to get rid of them, but you are then walking around with bugged items and assets on your person and in game memory, regardless of where that is, which warrants a bug, warrants a glitch, causes things to start breaking, right? Because the game tries to rectify its own code all the time. That's why games crashes happen. When the game can't rectify its code past a certain point, it just goes, nope, I need to get rid of this, I need to restart myself. That's an exceptional fault. It's built into most games to be able to do that, so that it can be flushed from the memory to start again. And before any serious overwriting and saving of any particularly harmful code can happen to any particular game files that might have that read-write flag on or open for certain information in an executable. So, it comes down to also safety features that have been built into the game engine or the game by the devs themselves. Right. As it is though, for now, I'm going to end this stream. This was just a quick test, and to obviously give an apology out to those who might be looking at my content going, where has he been for the past couple of days? Giving you the reasons as to why. It was for the self-taught Japanese. It took longer than it was supposed to. Thursday I had off for rest, relaxation. Everyone needs to have a day off. Thursday just happens to be that day, and I got a lot done anyway. So and then obviously this weekend my daughter's here, so she takes priority, especially because she's also ill. However, this is the comeback stream to show that I am still producing content. I'm still here. It's just a quick foray whilst I have the time and spare, space to do so. Um, I'm going to leave it there. I will attempt to come back later when my daughter is asleep. It will probably be late. It will probably be a quiet stream. If it's not Star Citizen, it will probably be zombies, and if it's not zombies, then I probably won't be on. Um, and that'll probably last into tomorrow as well, because it's Saturday today now, isn't it? And tomorrow is when we're doing all the birthday stuff with my daughter, my grandparents, my mum and dad, her grandparents, my sister, etc. So tomorrow's going to be a busy day until she goes home in the afternoon. By which point I will probably be out and about with my mate Liam from the village, Mr. Liam E. I'm trying to convince him to come back and join the streams for some zombies. He seems to be quite popular with the viewers. Some comments that I've had from feedback. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Um, but that's going to be it for me. We'll see. I'll see if I can get on and test my theory out later of one concurrent contract at a time when it comes to cargo runs in the 4.0 preview build, just to see if my theory on how population of these assets for these contracts works. See if they've taken out enough of the duplication code for their own game so that it can not be exploited as much anymore with ordinary user end items. But because of the way that persistence is working across all inventories for everybody, it would seem that they've shut off a piece of the code that happens to be a mechanic of production of code that needs to be utilized for cargo missions to work properly to populate those SKU boxes in your freight elevator, whichever end you're picking them up from, to be able to do the missions. So we'll try that later on, and see if just doing one at a time before selecting and accepting another, whether that will help with populating those assets properly. Um, but yeah, that's it from me. As always, take care, look after each other, love each other, and I'll see you in the next one. Sorry it's a bit short, but it is what it is. Anyways, have a good one. I'll see you later. Peace.